You good?
Yeah, I'm just fucking dandy.
In the shadow of towering oil rigs that pierce the Texas sky like defiant spears, a single spark ignites a chain of events that could topple an empire built on black gold. Tommy Norris, the battle-hardened landman who stared down cartels and crises, now stands at the crossroads of power and betrayal, where family ties strain against the relentless pull of ambition, and the future of CTT Oil hangs by a thread. The sun beat down mercilessly on the vast expanse of West Texas, turning the air into a shimmering haze over the CTT oil fields. Tommy Norris wiped the sweat from his brow, his weathered face etched with lines from years of hard deals and harder losses. As president of operations, he'd clawed his way up from roughneck to kingpin, but today the weight of the empire felt heavier than ever. The company was on the brink of its boldest move yet, expanding beyond the borders, tapping into untapped reserves in the volatile Badlands of New Mexico, and even eyeing partnerships south of the Rio Grande. But expansion meant risk. Rival companies circling like vultures, environmental regulators breathing down their necks, and whispers of internal sabotage that could unravel everything. Tommy's phone buzzed in his pocket as he stood beside a pumping rig, the rhythmic thud of machinery echoing his pounding heart. It was his ex-wife, Angela, her voice sharp and urgent over the line. "Tommy, you need to get back to the office. Monty's called an emergency board meeting. Something about the new drilling tech says it's make or break for CTT's future." Monty Miller, the billionaire owner and Tommy's uneasy ally, had been pushing for innovative fracking methods that promised to double output while cutting costs. But Tommy knew better. New tech meant new dangers, especially with untested AI-driven systems that could glitch at the worst moment. Driving his dusty pickup toward the sleek CTT headquarters in Fort Worth, Tommy's mind raced. His son, Cooper, fresh out of recovery from that brutal rig accident last season, was back on the job as a foreman. Cooper had always been the fire to Tommy's steady flame, reckless, ambitious, and now harboring a grudge against the company that nearly killed him. "Dad, this expansion's gonna bury us," Cooper had argued just last night over beers at the family ranch. "We're stretching too thin, and those cartels ain't forgotten our last run-in." Tommy had brushed it off, but deep down he felt the unease gnawing at him. The cartels had been quiet since the lease deal 2 years ago, but quiet didn't mean gone. Arriving at the boardroom, Tommy pushed open the heavy oak doors to find the room thick with tension. Monty sat at the head of the table, his silver hair gleaming under the fluorescent lights, flanked by Cammy, his sharp-eyed wife who handled the PR spin with a velvet glove over an iron fist. Rebecca, the company's no-nonsense lawyer, paced by the window, her tablet in hand. And there was Dale Bradley, the new hotshot engineer from Silicon Valley, brought in to oversee the AI integration. Dale's smug grin irked Tommy immediately, another outsider thinking he could tame the Wild West of oil. "Monty, what's the fire?" Tommy asked, sliding into his seat. Monty leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with that wildcat hunger. "Tommy, we've got the green light on the New Mexico sites, but there's a catch. Federal inspectors are demanding full transparency on our eco-impact. If we don't show the new tech reduces emissions, the deal's dead." Cammy chimed in, her voice smooth as silk. "And that's where Dale comes in. His system predicts faults before they happen. Optimizes flow. It's the future, Tommy. Clean, efficient, profitable." But as Dale launched into his presentation, flashing holograms of data streams and predictive algorithms, Tommy's gut twisted. He'd seen tech fail before. Pumps seizing, wells blowing out, lives lost. And then there was the anonymous email he'd received that morning. "The empire expands, but foundations crack. Watch your back." Was it a rival, a disgruntled employee, or worse, someone inside the family? Across town, Ainsley Norris, Tommy's daughter, stared at her reflection in the mirror of her upscale apartment. Fresh from college with a degree in environmental science, she joined CTT's sustainability team, a move that felt like betrayal to her activist friends, but a chance to change things from within. "Dad thinks I'm just playing house," she muttered to herself, tying her hair back. But Ainsley had secrets of her own, leaked documents showing CTT's past spills, ones that could tank the expansion if they surfaced. Her boyfriend, a journalist with a nose for scandal, had been pressing her for more. This could be huge, Ains, he'd said. Loyalty to family or to the planet? The choice was tearing her apart. Meanwhile, out on the rigs, Cooper supervised a crew prepping for the first test drill of the new AI tech. The air hummed with anticipation, but one roughneck, a grizzled veteran named Ruiz, pulled him aside. Boss, this machine's glitchy. Saw it skip a pressure read earlier. Cooper waved him off, eager to prove himself. It's fine, Ruiz. Dad's counting on this. But as the drill bit into the earth, a low rumble built. Not the usual grind, but something ominous, like the ground itself protesting. Back in the boardroom, Tommy's phone lit up again. This time it was Cooper. Dad, we got a problem out here. The system's overriding manual controls. Pressure's spiking. Tommy's blood ran cold. He bolted from the table, yelling over his shoulder. Meeting's over. We've got a live one. As he sped toward the site, sirens wailing in the distance, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was no accident. Someone was pulling strings, and the oil empire's expansion might end before it began, in a blaze of fire and regret. The dust kicked up behind Tommy's truck as he pushed the engine to its limit, the horizon blurring into a streak of orange sunset. By the time he arrived, the rig was a chaos of shouting men and flashing lights. Cooper met him at the gate, face pale. We shut it down in time, but barely. If that AI hadn't corrected itself, Tommy clasped his son's shoulder, relief mixing with suspicion. Who has access to the overrides? Cooper hesitated. Dale's team, and Ainsley was out here yesterday, checking eco-stats. That night, as the family gathered at the ranch for a tense dinner, Angela tried to play peacemaker. We're all in this together, she said, pouring wine. But Ainsley's eyes darted away, Cooper's fists clenched under the table, and Tommy watched them all, wondering who among his own blood might be the snake in the grass. M-Tech's future promised riches beyond imagination, but at what cost? As the wind howled outside, carrying the faint scent of oil, Tommy knew the real storm was just beginning, one that would test power, loyalty, and the fragile bonds of family. The morning after the near disaster at the rig, Tommy paced the porch of the family ranch, coffee gone cold in his hand. The anonymous email still burned in his mind. Foundations crack. He couldn't shake the suspicion that the AI glitch wasn't random. Someone had tampered with it, and the list of suspects was growing too close to home. CTT Oil and Cattle, his new venture born from the ashes of his firing from M-Tech's, had launched with a bang, backed by Danny Morell's cartel money and named for Cooper, Tommy, and old TL. It was a fresh start, a chance to build something his way. No boardroom politics, no Cammy Miller pulling strings. But fresh starts in oil country came with blood on the contracts. Cooper stormed out of the house, boots kicking up dust. Dad, we need to talk about Ainsley. She's been acting weird, dodging calls, sneaking off, and yesterday I saw her talking to that journalist boyfriend of hers near the office trailer. Tommy's jaw tightened. Ainsley had always been the smart one, the one who questioned everything. Now, with her environmental work clashing against the family's oil legacy, she was walking a dangerous line. She's got her own path, son, but if she's leaking anything... He didn't finish the sentence. Betrayal from within would kill CTT before it could pump its first barrel. Inside the modest CTT headquarters, a converted barn on the edge of Midland, Dale Bradley waited with a stack of reports. The Silicon Valley whiz had jumped ship from M-Tech's after Tommy's exit, claiming loyalty to the man who actually got things done. The New Mexico permits are almost locked, Dale said, tapping his laptop. But there's pushback from the feds. They want independent audits on our emissions tech. If Ainsley's group gets wind of the old spill data, Tommy cut him off, handle the audits and find out who's feeding info to outsiders. Dale nodded, but his eyes flicked away. Too quick, too nervous. Tommy filed it away. Trust was a luxury he couldn't afford anymore. Across state lines in a dusty New Mexico diner, Danny Morell sipped black coffee, his dark eyes scanning the room like a predator. The cartel boss had invested millions in CTT, seeing it as a clean way into legitimate business. But he wasn't patient. Tommy, my friend, he said when Tommy slid into the booth, expansion means enemies. Your little family drama could cost us both. Tommy leaned in. I handle my family. You handle the money. We stay out of each other's shadows. Danny smiled thinly. For now, but if that daughter of yours talks to the wrong people, the threat hung unspoken. Tommy felt the old familiar chill, the same one from the lease deals years ago when lives were bartered like mineral rights. Back at the ranch, Angela confronted Ainsley in the kitchen. Honey, whatever you're hiding, it stops now. This family has been through enough. Ainsley slammed her laptop shut. Mom, you don't get it. M-Tech's covered up spills that poisoned water for miles. If I don't speak up, who will? Dad's building another empire on the same dirty ground. Angela's face softened with pain. Your father lost everything once. He's fighting to keep us safe. Don't make him choose between you and the company. Ainsley stormed out, tears in her eyes, heading straight to meet her boyfriend at a quiet coffee shop. She handed him a flash drive. This is everything. Dates, locations, proof, but promise me it'll be anonymous. He nodded, but his eyes gleamed with ambition. One story could make his career. That afternoon, a surprise visitor arrived at CTT, Rebecca, the sharp lawyer who'd stuck with Tommy through the M-Tech's chaos. Cammie's gunning for you, she said, dropping a folder on the desk. She's filing injunctions on the New Mexico leases, claiming poaching of proprietary tech. And she's got insiders feeding her intel. Tommy flipped through the papers, his blood pressure rising. Who's the leak? Rebecca hesitated. Could be Dale, could be someone closer. But Tommy, if this goes public, the cartel money will draw heat you can't handle. He rubbed his temples. TL, his old man, shuffled in from the back room where he'd been napping. Son, empires fall when the family fights itself. Learned that the hard way. Tommy looked at his father, seeing the weariness of years. I won't let it fall, Dad. Night fell over the fields, the rigs glowing like distant cities. Cooper led a night crew on a test drill, the new AI humming smoothly now, or so it seemed. Ruiz, the veteran roughneck, muttered warnings again. Boss, I don't trust that machine. Or the new guy. Cooper ignored him, focused on proving he could run things. But deep underground, pressure built silently, a fault line no algorithm could predict. Tommy drove alone to the old M-Tech site, staring at the rig where it all started. His phone buzzed. An unknown number. A voice distorted. Stop the expansion, or the next glitch won't miss. And next time, it takes a life. Tommy gripped the wheel, knuckles white. The empire was expanding, but the cracks were widening. Family secrets, corporate revenge, cartel shadows, and a saboteur in the ranks. Power tempted him. Family anchored him. But the future of CTT Oil hung on a razor's edge. One wrong move, and everything he'd rebuilt would burn. As the wind carried the smell of crude across the dark plains, Tommy whispered to himself, not on my watch. But doubt crept in. In oil country, the ground always shifted when you least expected it. The anonymous call from the night before still echoed in Tommy's ears as he stood on the porch at dawn, watching the first light creep across the oil-stained horizon. Stop the expansion, or the next glitch won't miss. He hadn't told anyone, not Cooper, not Angela, not even Rebecca. Some fights you carried alone. But the weight was crushing him. CTT Oil was pumping its first test barrels from the New Mexico edge, and every drop felt like borrowed time. The cartel money kept flowing, the rigs kept turning, but trust was leaking faster than any wellhead. In the CTT barn-turned office, Dale Bradley hunched over monitors, fingers flying across keyboards. Tommy watched him from the doorway, arms crossed. You said the AI was bulletproof after the override fix. Dale didn't look up. It is. Whoever triggered that spike used an old backdoor code. M-Tech's legacy stuff. Someone with inside access. Tommy stepped closer. You had access. Dale finally met his eyes, calm but cold. So did half a dozen people, including your daughter. She ran diagnostics on our eco-sensors last week. Funny how the glitch happened right after. Tommy's fist clenched. He wanted to swing, but he held back. Accusing without proof would fracture everything faster than any sabotage. Out on the new lease, Cooper barked orders as the crew set up for the next phase. Deeper drilling, higher stakes. The AI system purred now, predictive models adjusting flow in real time. Ruiz, the old roughneck, kept his distance from the control trailer, muttering prayers under his breath. Cooper noticed. "You got a problem, Ruiz?" The man spat into the dirt. "Machines don't feel the ground shake before it blows. People do, and I feel it now." Cooper laughed it off, but the laugh died quick. He'd felt it too, a tightness in his chest, the same one from the accident that almost took his leg. He radioed Tommy. "Dad, we're green across the board, but something's off. Crew's jumpy." Tommy's reply crackled back. "Keep eyes open. No chances." Meanwhile, in a Fort Worth hotel suite, Cammie Miller sipped champagne while scrolling through leaked documents on her tablet. Rebecca had been right. Cammie was building a legal wall around CTT, but she had help. A knock came at the door. Ainsley stepped in, hood up, eyes red from lack of sleep. "You said you could protect me if I gave you what you needed." Cammie smiled like a shark. "And you did, sweetheart. Those spill records? Gold. M-Tex will look clean. CTT will look reckless. Your father's new empire crumbles, and you walk away the whistleblower hero. Win-win." Ainsley's voice shook. "I never wanted to destroy him, just force change." Cammie set the glass down. "Change costs blood in this business. You picked your side. Now live with it." Ainsley left the hotel trembling, the weight of her choice sinking in. She drove straight to the family ranch, hoping to confess before it was too late. But Angela was waiting on the porch, arms folded. "Where have you been?" Ainsley broke. "Mom, I messed up. I gave Cammie everything. The old spill files, the emissions data. I thought it would stop the worst of it." Angela's face went pale. "You gave them to the enemy?" Ainsley sobbed. "She promised protection. I didn't know she'd twist it." Angela pulled her into a hug, fierce and protective. "We fix this, together. But you tell your father, tonight." Tommy spent the afternoon with TL in the old barn, the two of them tinkering with a rusted pump jack model like they used to when Tommy was a boy. TL's voice was gravel. "You built CTT to get free of Monty and Cammie. Now look, you're right back in the same cage, just with different bars." Tommy sighed. "Thought family would be enough to hold it together." TL chuckled dryly. "Family's the first thing ambition chews up. Learned that watching your mother leave." Tommy looked at his father, really looked. The old man's eyes carried decades of regret. "I won't lose them, Dad. Not Ainsley, not Cooper." TL nodded. "And stop fighting shadows and start hunting the real snake." That evening, the family gathered at the ranch, forced normalcy over barbecue and cold beer. Cooper grilled out steaks, Angela set the table, Ainsley stayed quiet. Tommy watched them all, searching faces for guilt. Halfway through dinner, his phone buzzed. Unknown number again. This time a photo, Ainsley leaving Cammie's hotel, timestamped that afternoon. Attached message, "She sold you out. Next package goes to the feds and the press." Tommy's hands shook as he pocketed the phone. He looked across the table at his daughter. She met his gaze, eyes filling with tears. She knew he knew. Before he could speak, the lights flickered. Outside, a low rumble rolled across the fields. Not thunder, but something mechanical and wrong. Cooper jumped up. "That's the main rig." They ran outside. Flames licked the sky from the New Mexico lease 20 miles away, visible even at this distance. Sirens wailed in the night. Tommy's phone rang. Dale. "It's bad, Tommy. Catastrophic failure. Pressure blew the BOP. 3 men down. Ruiz is one of them." Tommy felt the world tilt. Ruiz, the man who'd warned them. Cooper was already sprinting for his truck. Ainsley stood frozen, whispering, "This is my fault." As emergency lights painted the darkness red, Tommy turned to his family. "No more secrets. No more sides. We end this tonight, together, or we lose everything." The fire burned brighter, a beacon of ruin, but also a signal. The empire was under siege, not just from outside enemies, but from the fractures within. Power had tempted them all. Family had held them together. Barely. Now the future of CTT Oil rested on whether they could forgive, fight, and survive the inferno they'd helped create. The night stretched long, filled with smoke, sirens, and the bitter taste of betrayal. And somewhere in the shadows, The saboteur watched, waiting for the next move. The fire at the New Mexico rig raged like a funeral pyre for dreams, lighting up the night sky in angry orange and black. Tommy arrived first, truck skidding to a halt amid flashing emergency lights and the acrid stench of burning oil. Fire crews battled the blaze, water arcs cutting through flames that refused to die. Cooper was already there, face streaked with soot, helping medics load stretchers. Ruiz lay on one, oxygen mask fogging with shallow breaths, his leg mangled. Two others were critical: burns, fractures, shock. Tommy knelt beside Ruiz. The old roughneck gripped his hand weakly. "Told you. Machine don't feel the shake." Tommy's throat closed. "You're gonna make it, old man. Hang on." Back at the ranch, Angela kept Ainsley inside, away from the chaos. The girl sat at the kitchen table, staring at her hands as if they belonged to someone else. "I didn't mean for anyone to get hurt," she whispered. Angela knelt in front of her. "Intentions don't stop explosions, baby, but owning it might save what's left." Ainsley nodded, tears carving clean tracks through the dust on her cheeks. She pulled out her phone and dialed her journalist boyfriend. When he answered, her voice was steel. "Kill the story, all of it. I'm retracting everything. If you run it, I'll tell the world you coerced me." He argued, pleaded, threatened. She hung up. For the first time in months, she felt the ground steady beneath her. Tommy returned at dawn, exhausted, clothes reeking of smoke. The family waited in the living room. No one had slept. He looked at each of them. Cooper,